ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Thursday, November 13th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour open at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. What a great day yesterday was. Absolutely. Thundering Herd got the win over Elon. Then the Marshall men went into Morgantown, the hostile country for the Thundering Herd, and in double overtime eliminated the West Virginia Mountaineers from the Sun Belt Conference tournament by a final score of 3-2. Bobby Iddings is going to join us here in the next few minutes. We're going to talk about that match. A lot going on social media-wise as well. Coach Grassi even called it out. You know, reports of Thundering Herd's demise, maybe a little exaggerated. And if you're not that familiar with what's going on, and we're going to definitely get into basketball here in just a few minutes, but after Marshall went into Morgantown the regular season and lost that match 3-0, WVU social media posted, it was Halloween. So it was a Halloween-themed post. It had a tombstone, basically, with all of Marshall's losses in Morgantown. And so Thundering Herd didn't take kindly to that, the reports of Marshall's demise. And I think it showed in the way Marshall performed, not only in the start of this tournament, but going into Morgantown with sort of a chip on its shoulder. I don't want to face a ticked-off Chris Grassi and a ticked-off Marshall Thundering Herd if I'm anyone left on the schedule. And that includes UCF, which upset Kentucky. And so Marshall, by default, the highest seed remaining, will host the Sun Belt Conference Championship coming up on Sunday. And so that's where Bobby's going to come in. We're going to recap the match. He's going to tell us a little bit more about what he thinks might happen, get his early impressions as the Thundering Herd getting that win. But hey, social media was fun yesterday if you are a Marshall soccer fan. I mean, there's a great video of the Thundering Herd, the lads singing Country Roads, all the Mountaineer faithful left. And, of course, I've seen some other footage as well, Mountaineer fans maybe not taking too kindly and exhibiting the number one symbol to Marshall fans and Marshall players. All of that's going to happen, obviously. You can cherry pick some of that. So, I don't think that's necessarily norm, or maybe it is. If you were in Morgantown, let me know. What was it like for you? 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's our number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. And, of course, then the Thundering Herd getting the win over Elon. That was fun. I don't know how many of you got a chance to come out to the Henderson Center last night. If you didn't, you watched the game. And I thought Elon was good. Not going to lie to you. I really thought Elon was good. Offensive team, put up a lot of points. So I felt good about Marshall's ability to kind of slow them down just a little bit in that regard. And Wyatt Fricks had a game. Young man had an outstanding performance. That was a career night for him. Hopefully we'll see more of that. And I was happy for him, just the way that all his hard work. He's one of those players that stuck around, didn't go anywhere, didn't jump ship with the Thundering Herd, changing coaches, with Coach Jackson coming in to replace Dan D'Antoni. I mean, he's been around forever, it feels like. He's been like 10, 15 years now. We kind of kid with him. But he had a tremendous game in that win at the Henderson Center. And then if you weren't with us yesterday, I want to make note of this. Go back to the podcast. We got it posted last night. Marshall hired Gerald Harrison a few months ago, and we had an opportunity to talk to him before the game. And if you didn't hear that yesterday, if you were in transit or maybe you went to Morgantown and you want to go watch the soccer team instead, didn't get a chance to listen to the show, go back and hear as much of that as you possibly can. There was some good stuff that was said by Gerald Harrison, and we had a good time. Excited to see what's next for the Thundering Herd, but he is someone that I don't think he can sit still. And not he's agitated or just, I don't think he can just stay put. Something's always got to be better. You got to always improve. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that forward momentum for him looks like. He was big on the student athlete experience. How can Marshall University make the athletic department complete? Maybe not the best athletic department as far as every program's winning championships, but that stuff will come. It's just how can Marshall serve the student athletes and, of course, the fans as well. And so it was a great interview yesterday. Go back and listen to it if you didn't get a chance to. And, again, if you don't know how to do that, head over to our website to get started, wrvc.com. You can also find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you're using. Just search The Drive with Paul Swann, and you're going to find it. And pull up yesterday's interview and look forward to hearing in the future from Marshall's athletic director, Gerald Harrison. So we'll talk basketball with you in a few minutes. We're going to talk soccer with you as well, as the Herd now advancing to the championship game for the third straight year. It was poetic justice, maybe. It was sweet revenge. Thundering Herd also on social media having a good time. If you haven't yet, you can see the Herd singing Country Roads at Dick Delesk Soccer Stadium, and you can feel the energy there from Marshall, knowing that a lot of people probably counted them out. And Chris Grassi said that there were a lot of things said about our demise here. And he also added, I think they used that as motivation talking about his team. So Bobby Iddings, who is usually on the call when the Herd's at home, he's going to have the game, I'm sure, on Sunday. I believe he's going to have the game. So we're going to talk to him in just a few minutes about what's coming up on Sunday, the game itself. And we'll get your thoughts in. Let's do that now. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Basketball as well. What are your thoughts on what you saw last night as the Thundering Herd getting the win over Elon, improving now to 3-0? Next up for the Thundering Herd, it'll be Virginia. That game is going to be noon on Saturday. We'll have it for you here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930, as football will be on our sister station 93.7 The Dog. So we've got you covered either way, basketball or football. You can listen to it, pull up the stream, however you want to do it. So we've got you covered. But when we continue, we'll talk soccer with Bobby Iddings, and then later on we'll get your thoughts as Wyatt Fricks with 34 points and Jalen Spear with a career-high 12 assists. Those were both career numbers, by the way. 12 assists for Spear, 34 points for Fricks, and those two help lead the Thundering Herd to that victory over Elon, 96-89. We'll get into all of that with you when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
It's New Ride November at Hometown Chevrolet in Waverly. Find your perfect ride with incredible savings on new and used Chevrolet cars, trucks, and SUVs, all backed by our certified Chevrolet service that you can trust. Whether you're hitting the road in a brand new Silverado or keeping your current Chevy running strong, Hometown Chevrolet has you covered. Come see us in Waverly or start your deal online at yourhometownchevy.com. Hometown Chevy, your hometown dealer, your hometown advantage.
You've cut back on everything and you're still coming up short at the end of the month. Give your local State Farm agent a call for a free discount double check. They'll show you how something as simple as combining car and home policies can save you hundreds of dollars a year. Being there to help keep more of your money is why your local State Farm agent is here. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
In Huntington, John Garten, 304-525-1116. And in Barbersville, Marcia Slater, 304-736-6100.
Hey, Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year, football season. Frank's has you covered from Marshall, WVU, the rest of college football to the NFL. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's.
Ladies, prioritizing your health starts with Marshall OBGYN. From screening exams to disease prevention to management of reproductive problems, our team offers a complete range of services for women of all ages. Thinking about growing your family? Marshall OBGYN's physicians are experienced in providing you the support you need for normal or high-risk pregnancies in a friendly, family-oriented environment. Learn more at marshallhealth.org/OBGYN.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
We continue with this Thursday edition of Your Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We had a fun time last night across the board. Marshall beating Elon at the Cam Henderson Center, and in between plays, we got a chance to follow along in Morgantown, the Thundering Herd taking on the Mountaineers. This was semifinal action in the Sun Belt Conference Soccer Tournament, a rematch from a Halloween horror show for the Thundering Herd. And to tell us more about the victory, Bobby Iddings, who I'm presuming you're going to have a call Sunday, Championship Sunday. That's going to be you, right? ESPN?
Yeah. Immediately, 5 minutes after that match ended last night, raised my hand, made sure everybody knew that I was able to be there on Sunday. So yeah, it'll be it'll be an electric atmosphere on Sunday for sure.
What took you so long making everyone aware? 5 minutes. What were you doing?
Yeah, I think we were all trying to watch the post game antics first and just see the post game weirdness that went on up there even after the final goal by Joel Alves.
Let's go back a little bit. So Halloween night, it's a horror show for the Thundering Herd. That was not Marshall's soccer. We've seen better. They've been able to perform a little higher level. What do you think the difference was between what we saw the first time in Morgantown and last night?
Well, I think there's a lot of things you point to. I mean, obviously, this is a Marshall team that I think you worried after that West Virginia match. Where were they going to be in terms of confidence-wise going into UCF? And I think what was impressive about that one for this Marshall side was to be able to see them shake it off and say, okay, that West Virginia game happened. Now we go on to UCF. You go on, you play UCF really well. You played really well in that Georgia State match, the first one in Morgantown last Sunday. And then I think you go into last night, and it's just, look, we've seen each other before. We know what each other does well. And I think it was just a matter of adjusting to those different tactics. I mean, you think back to 2023, Marshall goes up to Morgantown, probably plays one of its worst games of the season that year, gave up 5 goals in that match to the Mountaineers. Marcus Caldera continues to be just a thorn in Marshall's side. And then Marshall takes on West Virginia in the Sun Belt Conference Championship game in 2023, learns from the mistakes, beats the Mountaineers 3-2. What do we see last night? Marshall, of course, loses 12 days prior, 3-0, really dominated probably in terms of the pace of play in that one. And then the Thundering Herd comes out last night. You get that first goal early, And that's really what sets the tone for this Marshall side. If Marshall can kind of see the ball go in the back of the net, Carl Romberg, who's just been incredible for Marshall the last 4 or 5 matches, and I think that set the pace for Marshall. I think you see a team playing with a lot more confidence right now, just continuing to see itself progress forward. Now, obviously, Takahiro Fujita, not having him in the next match is going to be tough for Marshall, just depending on how bad that injury is. We don't know really what that injury is going to be, but look, this is a Marshall team that we've talked all year. It is a deep squad, and they've had to showcase their depth. And I think last night you saw the depth shine through at times. And I think that's what Marshall wants to continue to see happening. They want the openers and the closers, and I think that's what you saw last night with the closers coming into play.
How much of the animosity, if that's even the right way to describe it, played into last night? Those two teams do not like each other. I know the two fan bases do not like each other, but from all social media accounts, it's not a rivalry at all, Bobby. Never. Not a rivalry.
No, of course not. No, I think, look, you saw the Chris Grassi quotes. He said, there were some comments that were made on social media, and he specifically pointed to the graveyard, the tombstones that were posted by the WVU men's soccer account. And he said, hey, look, there was something to be said about our quote-unquote demise. And then Chris Grassi said, you play a field on a regulation size, and he pointed to Marshall's record on a regulation size. West Virginia's field had been a little bit bigger in terms of just the width of the field and things like that, and Marshall discovered that. And look, I think the animosity is definitely pushed to an extent by both sides. Both sides know what this means. You heard Nick Farrell, and I thought Nick Farrell last night and Adam Zundel both did an incredible job just explaining the rivalry and the magnitude around this game. It's really interesting because this is such a huge match for both teams, and you want to win this match. You want to be successful in that one. But what is forgotten is now there's still a match to play. Paul, you're the hockey guy. You're a bigger hockey guy than me. It's kind of like the U.S. beating the Russians. There's still another hockey match or a hockey game to be played after that one. There's still another match to be played. You still have to now take on a UCF team that's been one of the hottest in the country. Go back to October 1st. It's only lost one match. Who they lose to? It was Marshall. So there's still a match to be played. As crazy as last night was, and as happy as Marshall fans are, and as wild as that scene was in Morgantown, there's still more soccer to be played, and for both Marshall and West Virginia. And you have to be able to refocus now and kind of turn your attention to the postseason as it continues on.
Okay, so UCF is now our Finland.
Correct. There you go.
I love that.
Correct.
Everything you saw afterwards, before we get into more of what happened on the field, everything that you saw afterwards, the singing of country roads, the fan interactions, the social media, Marshall with the reply to the gravestone with the resurrection. And I swear I saw when the Undertaker gif was posted of him coming out of the coffin, I'm surprised the social media team did not put Grassi's face on that. I was a little disappointed there. But I think that goes to show you that this is that important, that the social media teams, the fans, everyone, we're still talking about this, and maybe more so what happened between the fans and the interactions than the match itself. And that was a tremendous match. If you're just a casual soccer fan or you're a soccer fan in general and you tune into that match, you got your money's worth, and you probably were converted into a hardcore soccer fan after that.
Yeah, and look, I was texting with some friends, both on the WU and Marshall side throughout that entire match, and just talking to them. And, there were both sides, some sides calling it, this match is annoying because neither team could take control. I just called it unhinged. Said this match is just so unhinged because it's back and forth. Neither team could get that upper hand. Marshall scores. West Virginia scores 3 minutes later. Then Marshall scores 8 minutes later. Then West Virginia scores 10 minutes later. And look, to be blunt, for how high level of a match that was, and this is just from a pure rooting interest for any game, it really stinks to see a game end on a handball call like that. Carlos Hernando, who has been so good for West Virginia throughout his career, gets called for a handball just trying to make a play. Completely inadvertent handball. If you're not familiar with the rules in college soccer, you don't have to make an intention to make your hand or arm make contact with the ball. If you make contact with it, it is a handball. That's how it played out last night. So just from these two sides, it was just a fun soccer match to watch last night. Just if you wanted action, you got it in the final 45 minutes and then in the extra periods. I watched the final 45 minutes extra periods with my wife, who's not a huge sports fan, but at the same time, the amount of gas I heard came from her side of the couch every time a ball slid in the box, every single time. It shows you just the true fun that people can have watching a high-level soccer match, and that's what we saw last night. It was just really fun to see, and we continue to get that theater every time these two teams match up.
To your point, we've got a match coming up on Sunday against UCF. How does Chris Grassi turn this around? And let's temper this now. You took care of business, but that was only to get to the end game, or at least at this point. How do you not let that win beat you on Sunday?
Well, I think you've got to go back and show your team. You got to immediately get back in the film room, show them film what they did well. Because let's be honest, UCF saw it. UCF is hot. UCF is going to be a team that is angry after losing to this Marshall side, and they want to come out and they want to prove that was a fluke. This is a UCF team that has played a murderer's row early in the season. Talking with Scott Calabrese today, he said, look, we played the best teams in the country at the beginning of the season. We played the Wake Forest, the North Carolinas, the UNC Greensboros. He said, we've played all them. And now our team is finally meshing and finally coming together, and we're going to see what we can do, and we have to learn from our mistakes we made against Marshall. For Marshall on the other side, again, what is Taka's status? That's the big question for this Marshall team. What is his status going to be going into this championship match? That's a big question. Clarence Owudor and Lillian Ricole are big, big goal scorers for this UCF side. So it's going to really depend on, how Marshall defends. But also, and this is the big question mark in this UCF match, Marshall and UCF play very similar styles. Both teams want the ball. Marshall maybe is used to, and this is, again, from Scott Calabrese today, Marshall, UCF both maybe used to possessing 60, 70% of the match. That's not going to happen when you take on one another. That's not going to happen when you take each other on. So you've got to be comfortable possessing the ball maybe only 50% of the time or 40% of the time. You've got to be okay with that. And in that half hour that you have to defend your life, you have to be able to do that and be cool with that. The way Chris Grassi described it to me the last time these two teams played was, we have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. He said, if we get a goal or if we get two and then end up defending, we've got to be okay with that. Yes, we may go forward and we may attack if we want to, but if we have to defend, same thing Scott Calabrese said, if we can get an early goal and we go into defending mode, we've got to be okay with that. We've got to be okay letting them possess and then taking advantage whenever the opportunity comes to us.
Bobby Iddings is with us. He's going to have the call championship match on Sunday, ESPN Plus. And if you can't go, because I know the notice went out to season ticket holders today, I can't imagine there's a ticket available to this thing right now. I can't imagine.
It's going to be, I think, you saw the 3,000 mark plus eclipsed a couple of seasons ago when Marshall played West Virginia. Just with how that match ended up yesterday, I think that you're going to see something similar. Yes, it's an NFL Sunday. I get that. But there's a lot of, obviously, the youth league football and things like that has ended around the Huntington area as well. So it's going to be an incredible atmosphere just to come out to a soccer match. And it'll just be fun. It'll just be fun. And I think to continue to see soccer at a high level in Huntington, West Virginia is, again, something that if you would have told you and I 10 years ago, I'm not necessarily sure we would have believed it.
Bobby Iddings with us. Again, he's going to have the call, the Thundering Herd taking on UCF. It was fun. You were not at the Cam Henderson Center yesterday. So just the fact alone that we're watching the basketball game and then the scoreboard, as the scoreboard operator always does, will flip over to a Marshall match as elsewhere. And every time that Marshall scores, it would go up on the big board. And the crowd was just electric there at the Henderson Center. And then afterwards, I'm doing the post-game show, and there are Herd fans just hanging out, lingering as they were showing on the scoreboard the conclusion of this matchup between Marshall and WVU. And there were people there. It's usually so quiet and lonely when I'm doing the post-game show, Bobby. And just to tell you, it was not that atmosphere yesterday at the Henderson Center after the game as well.
And what's cool about that is that's completely absent of the understanding of the result of the Kentucky UCF match. That's just watching a Marshall athletic event against West Virginia where people are continuing to hang out, ignoring, not even paying attention to the fact that if Marshall wins that, and then, of course, if UCF upset Kentucky, Marshall hosts. That's probably not something that's on the mind immediately. It's just, let's win, let's move on, and let's see what happens. And that's what you've seen from Marshall fans. Marshall fans through and through will support a winner. You win, Marshall fans support, and that's exactly what you saw last night.
Should be a fun atmosphere. I'm hoping it's a fun, energetic, and maybe less antagonistic atmosphere than we saw yesterday. Of course, again, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but these two fan bases really don't like one another, and sometimes you see a bad fan or two kind of spoil it for everybody. And we saw some of that.
Yeah, and just don't be that guy. Just don't be that guy. And I'm not saying anyone in particular. Just don't be that guy. Be the courteous fan. Be the fan that can, you can give some ribbing, you can talk some trash, whatever you want to do. But at the end of the day, if a match is won, fair and square by one side, just don't be that guy that is any type of a story to be written about later.
Absolutely. Bobby's going to have the call again. That's coming up on Sunday, ESPN Plus. Man, that's exciting. You got the championship call. You live for stuff like that, and it's at home, so that makes it even better. And I saw some very happy people from the Marshall staff during that match, after that match. I don't think anyone's in a bad mood today at Marshall. I don't see how. It was that good of a night yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Marshall's got an opportunity this weekend to make it a really fun weekend, between the football game, of course, at Georgia State on Saturday, the men's basketball team playing at Virginia, the women's basketball team hosting Kentucky, volleyball this weekend as well down at Southern Miss. So not even mentioning the soccer match. There's a lot of optimism for these Marshall programs this weekend, just with how the different teams are playing. And it could be a really fun weekend if you're a Marshall fan.
Looking forward to it. And again, if you don't have tickets, and right now, if you're a season ticket holder, you better have claimed them, because if not, somebody else will. You can watch Bobby. He'll have the call ESPN Plus. If you watch it live and you want to go back and watch Bobby call it again, you can do that as well. So that's the plan on Sunday. Bobby, thanks for doing it. Congratulations to you, man, because it's always exciting to get a call a championship match.
Yeah, we're going to have fun with it, man. We're going to have a good time.
Bobby, we'll talk to you. I'm hoping we'll talk to you Monday or Tuesday about Marshall. And actually, selections are Tuesday, right, if I remember correctly?
Yes, selections, I believe, are Tuesday. I think it's the 18th. Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so selections are Tuesday, and I think the one fact that we probably didn't touch on briefly is more than likely this WVU team will not be seeded. It won't be ranked. So no home, probably, maybe. We'll see what the committee, because the committee wasn't very favorable to them last year as well.
Yeah, and I think what you potentially could see is they may not get that top 16 national seed, but they still may end up with a higher ranking than one of the teams that get in with them. So that kind of play-in round potentially could be in effect as well.
Okay, Tuesday will be I'm sure we'll be all over at the Student Center once again watching the selection show. Bobby, looking forward to seeing you then.
All right, man. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir. Bobby Iddings will have the call on ESPN Plus Sunday. Thundering Herd taking on UCF for the championship Sun Belt Conference. This is Marshall's third straight appearance in that championship game. When we continue, we'll get your text 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Earn more with 4 at the best community bank in the Kanawha Valley, Polka Valley Bank. Polka Valley Bank is now offering a certificate of deposit special, 10-month APY, annual percentage yield 4%. Take advantage of this great rate to grow your savings. For more information, stop by one of the 8 Polka Valley Bank locations today. Polka Valley Bank, where relationships matter.
Certain terms and conditions apply. Rates based on minimum annual percentage yield. Subject to change without notice. Minimum deposit required of $10,000 of new money not currently on deposit with Polka Valley Bank to receive APY. Member FDIC.
Cold weather's on its way, and what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests, they sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
This fall, let the Car Ferry bring a little magic to your driveway at Mark Porter Auto Group. With locations in Pomeroy, Jackson, Ohio, and Ashland, Kentucky. Want to shop 24 hours a day? Cozy up with a cup of cider and browse our full inventory anytime at markporterautogroup.com. Fall into a safe, reliable vehicle and let the Car Ferry guide you to Mark Porter Auto Group in Pomeroy, Jackson, and Ashland. Or shop 24/7 at markporterautogroup.com.
Kendra Digital and the Marshall Health Orthopedics High School Sports Network proudly present live high school playoff football presented by the Marshall Sports Medicine Institute. This Friday night, the Huntington Highlanders open up the postseason with a matchup against Hedgesville. Catch every play streaming live on this station's Facebook page and on the Cabell County Schools Facebook page. Huntington High versus Hedgesville, only from Kendra Digital Sports.
Life is full of twists and turns. Make sure you're protected with Partners Insurance and Financial Services. From home and auto to life and business insurance, we're here to help you plan, protect, and prosper. Our experienced team works with top providers to find the coverage that fits your life and your budget. And when it comes to your financial future, we're right there with you every step of the way. Partners Insurance and Financial Services, your partner in peace of mind. Call or visit us online today. Let's build your future together. Search Partners Insurance and Financial Services.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. AMDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at mda.org today.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover guitar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with this Thursday edition. Your host, Paul Swann, that's me. Text line 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I'm having a good day. At this point, I'm having a good day because last night was fun at the Henderson Center, watching the Herd win against Elon and then watching the Herd on the pitch beat the Mountaineers. Feeling good today. I didn't know how good of a day this was until I'm outside of my house earlier today and the mailman is dropping off something. And he looks at me and he's like, man, what a great night that was, Paul. Marshall basketball, Marshall soccer, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, it really was a good day. And, oh, by the way, the mailman knows really who I am. And so everybody's talking about this. And let's talk about Elon. We'll do that in a minute. I want to get to the text first, though. Texter wrote in and said, Paul, so Roberto gets a middle finger from a WVU fan after his goal, and Ryan Holmes gets punched by a fan after the game. Both instances shown live on TV. There's no defense for such behavior. What I can't understand is why the media has ignored even a reference of the Mountaineers. Text got garbled. Let's see. Let me refresh it. What I can't understand is why the media has ignored even a reference of the Mountaineers' idiocracy. Finally, it was great match. Go Herd. Apologize, that last part got really truncated, so I do apologize there. But I get the point. There were some idiotic fans. You're going to find that everywhere. I'm hoping that when you have Marshall UCF on Sunday, you don't have idiotic fans ruining it. Visiting fans, I don't care. You come into a visiting stadium and the home fans are going to get on you. Sure, it's going to be fun. You can have some fun back and forth, but you don't have to be idiots about it. And I'm not singling anyone out. It's just you don't have to be idiots about it. And there's no place in college athletics. There's no place in athletics. There's no place in society. You don't punch fans. You don't touch players. No, absolutely. There are some barriers that must be upheld and enforced. Jumping into the crowd to celebrate with the fans, and then another fan from a different team comes and pushes you back. I don't know if you just limit some of those points of engagement to begin with. Maybe fans and players should not be interacting with each other during a match, jumping into the crowd. I don't know if that's part of the solution there, but at the same time, you don't strike anyone. You don't punch anyone. I mean, I don't know what I can add to that other than be better. Don't do that. That's stupid. But it's not a rivalry whatsoever. Not at all. Nope. Nothing. Means nothing. Marshall, WVU means absolutely nothing. And yet you can show the game back to someone and ask them, what do you think? And they go, wow, these two schools really don't like each other. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That is our text line to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So when the Herd plays on Sunday, if there are UCF fans in attendance, I would hope that Marshall fans would show those people the most respect possible, utmost respect and courtesy. You can have fun, you can really get after each other and have a good time, but make sure that it's friendly interactions, because after all, we don't need to have any type of violence engagement like that. And I'm not singling out what happened, soccer. I'm just period. Don't do stuff like that. Be better. Don't be, because who are you trying to show off for? I mean, you're trying to prove something. Is your image of self-worth that tied into the performance of your team that you got to resort to attitudes like that? I don't know. I don't know if I have a really good take on this, other than I don't condone any of that behavior from any fan base whatsoever. I'm watching a game. If it goes my team's way, that the team that I root for and follow, great. If it doesn't, I know it's disappointing. But at the same time, what does that attitude get you? Other than, I showed them. Yeah, I flipped him off. He's number one. Yeah, you get what I'm saying. All right, we'll get more of your texts coming up. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Be better fans. That's all I'm saying. That goes out to everybody. Be better. More coming up. It's The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text, online loan payments, even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Transform your outdoors all year long with Roberts Lawn Care and Landscaping. Family owned and operated, serving the tri-state area with expert landscaping services. From vibrant spring gardens to cozy fall patios and everything in between. Roberts specializes in sustainable landscaping that thrives through every season, residential or commercial. Roberts creates personalized solutions to bring your vision to life. Call Roberts today at 304-633-5822 because your dream yard deserves 4 seasons of care.
Here's another Kinder Communications Community Chatter. The Cabell Heineken Health Department providing monthly after-hours vaccine clinics for all of 2025. The clinics are being offered on the first Monday of each month between 3 and 6 p.m. at the department at 703 7th Avenue. No appointment is necessary.
This Kinder Communications Community Chatter brought to you by Black Sheep Harley-Davidson, 4th Avenue and 4th Street, downtown Huntington. Online at blacksheephd.com.
The guru of gutter protection himself, Chris Cunahan, president of Leaf Filter, gets a lot of interesting calls to his office when folks are ready to tackle their gutters. He's also got a special Black Friday offer.
Hey, everybody, Chris here. I understand we have Ron on the line. Ron, where are you calling from?
Uh-oh. Ron, are you calling from a ladder?
Well, I was. I wanted to ask Chris what I need to do to get my gutters ready to have Leaf Filter installed.
Oh, Ron, you don't have to do anything. A Leaf Filter Trusted Pro will come out and clean out your gutters, realign and seal your gutters, and install Leaf Filter, America's #1 gutter protection system.
So I didn't need to get on this ladder?
Ron, Leaf Filter Trusted Pros are in your neighborhood and ready to help. Just visit leaffilter.com/trust to schedule your free gutter inspection and get up to 30% off.
Thank goodness. What was that site?
That's leaffilter.com/trust. And now, as a special Black Friday offer, you can get a free gutter inspection, plus up to 35% off. This is our best offer of the season. Unlock it now at leaffilter.com/trust. See representative for warranty details.
Following a record-breaking October, University Ford is ready to honor those that served and those that support them with extra discounts you won't find anywhere. New Escapes up to $8,000 off. New Rangers up to $5,000 off. And the largest selection of F-Series, even Super Duties, take up to $10,000 off. All with up to 125% of KBB value for your trade. New ownership, improved processes, better deals. Better deals. The bow tie means a better vibe. It's a November to remember at universityfordwv.com. See deals for complete details on all offers.
I'm Naheem Hines, professional football player and proud supporter of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. My mom was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy when I was 14, and I watched her struggle. But MDA helped her get the best treatments and care, and they also help kids like my buddy Ethan.
My name is Ethan. Thanks to the Muscular Dystrophy Association and people like you, I have more hope than ever before. From day one, they've treated me like family at my local care center. MDA is the only one that funds over 150 care centers across the U.S. to help provide state-of-the-art care for adults and kids like me.
MDA has been transforming the lives of people living with muscular dystrophy, ALS, and other related neuromuscular diseases. They fund the research for breakthrough treatments, care, and cures. And MDA provides support to thousands of families like mine and Ethan's in communities like yours. Thanks to MDA, kids and adults can live life to its fullest. Join us and learn more at MDA.org today.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kathleen Eubanks-Ming with the American Academy of Family Physicians. Bullies use power, strength, or popularity to hurt others emotionally or physically. And while you can't be with your child all the time, there are ways you can help. If your child encounters a bully, tell them to get to a safe place and tell an adult. You can also show them how to block online bullies. Teach them they can be more than a bystander and that they can help their peers. For more on bullying, visit familydoctor.org or talk with your family physician.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Thank you, Dave. Don't forget, coming up tomorrow, Metro News Talk Line 10:06 here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line this hour, it's brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter writes in and says, Paul, and we're still talking about Marshall WVU soccer from last night. The text reads, Paul, just shows that most WVU fans are rude, classless, and sore losers. Them fans ruin it for the cool Mountaineer fans. Absolutely. There are cool Mountaineer fans. There are cool fans everywhere. There are cool fans everywhere. It's just the ones that kind of are the vocal minority that you really ruin it for a lot of people and give certain schools a bad identity. Texter says, Paul, when we hosted national championship games in football, Hurt fans were good. Appreciate the text. When Marshall hosted national championship games in football, when Marshall wasn't playing in the championship game, Hurt fans were good. I actually went to that game. Marshall got eliminated that year by Boise, and so it was Youngstown Stadium, Boise. And I went to that match, and there were a lot of Hurt fans that actually showed up because it was part of your package, your ticket package. That's why Huntington Marshall was so successful, is because it got worked into the package, because the prevailing thought at that time was, well, it's just going to be the Marshall Invitational. Marshall's going to be in this thing. So get your tickets now. And it was easier then, I'm going to be honest with you, as a student, it was easier then to get tickets to events like that, because, the NCAA has its – I just walked up and I purchased tickets, on certain years. I called the ticket office. I didn't have to go through any app or any online ticketing. It was old school back in the day. I actually got my hands on those tickets. It was super cool to go to those championship games. Absolutely enjoyed every single moment of it. 1992, Marshall winning his first national championship in football was the greatest moment at the time for my sports life. There have been some great moments since. More text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Bigger rival, the texter asks, WVU or UCF? It's a good one. Appreciate that thought. I would say UCF has the potential, because there were some epic matchups over the years, and the two fan bases, there was some animosity, obviously, between the two fan bases, between Marshall and UCF. Marshall was in the MAC first, and UCF, and then UCF, working its way up, and Marshall kind of, I'll tell you this. At one point, Marshall was ahead of UCF in all metrics, and then UCF took off. It's a huge area. It's a large university. They've got resources. But I think the basketball rivalry was more intense than the football rivalry. And it wasn't because of the play. It was because of one basketball coach. You know who I'm talking about, and that's Donnie Jones. Now, I like Donnie, but Donnie was the head coach of the Thundering Herd from 2007 and 2010. And then he turns on Marshall and goes to UCF. UCF in Conference USA, because, of course, there was the thought that UCF would be moving on to bigger and better, and, of course, it landed in the American Athletic Conference. And Donnie was there for 6 seasons, and I think that fueled some of the rivalry. And now he's at Stetson. Did all right a few years ago at Stetson. Last season was not a good season, but did make it in the NCAA Division I round of 64 and 23-24, as the record page indicates. So made a couple of CBI tournaments, at UCF, made the CBI semifinals, made the NIT first round, but made the CIT quarterfinal for Marshall in that final year. I mean, Marshall was 24-10 in that final year, 2009-2010. I think that's the bigger story there is the basketball rivalry. And then A.J. Ramsa. Love to hate that guy. I hear he's pretty successful in life, but love to hate that guy. And he knew it. And when I was on press row, which press row used to be on courtside, you could see him. Just look at him. He knew it. He knew what he was doing. So there was some good rivalries there between Marshall and UCF. In soccer, that might translate, but if you're just going by history alone, there's really more history between Marshall and WVU on the pitch than there is with UCF. But if you're talking basketball, I'm going right now. For a while, it was really hot between Marshall and UCF when those two teams were facing off, especially with Donnie Jones as the head coach of the UCF. More text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. What about Wyatt Fricks with his career high? Have you ever seen anything like that? I got a similar text to that yesterday. I appreciate the thought there. From him, that's a career high for him. And you got to go back a ways. I don't think anyone's had such a standout performance in a while. We had to go back in the books, and I did some on-the-spot research, and I went back to John Elmore. Elmore pulled it off. He had a higher point total, and that was the last time we saw something a little bit more of a high output than anything else. So you got to go back a few years. I'm hoping Fricks can continue it. I don't know if he can keep that pace up, but he definitely looked poised out there. And I'm not taking anything away from him because Elon is considered to be they're a good program. Now, are they going to win the NCAA tournament? Well, let's not go that far. But is it a team that if you get a win over Elon, that's considered a good win? It's a name. Like UMass. Marshall beat UMass. It's not UMass of old, but hey, you beat UMass. That's a good win. You beat Toledo. Well, Toledo's very well regarded, does well in the Mid-American Conference, has very successful seasons by most metrics. And you got that win. You feel good. Now, if Marshall can go on the road to Virginia and show it can compete, hey, this might be a good run coming up in the Sun Belt. This might be Marshall making a serious run in the Sun Belt. And we all know, as much as we love the Thundering Herd on the football field, for some of you, Marshall's still a basketball school, and you'd like to see it become a basketball school in regard once again. And I love where Coach Jackson's got this team right now. 3-0, that's a great start no matter what happens against Virginia. I like the hustle. I like the effort. I like Van Komen. I really am a fan of his game. I can't believe that Elon didn't use him in the, I don't want to say the proper way, but he didn't have the role at Elon that he has now with Coach Jackson. And again, if he's open, he gets to shoot. And you got to account for the big man. Absolutely. It was a fun game last night. I hope everyone enjoyed it. Thanks for being a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm going to be back with you tomorrow. It's Friday. We've got high school football to get you ready for. Of course, we've got Marshall getting set for a big weekend. Virginia on the basketball court. We've got football going to Georgia State. We've also, tomorrow, just to keep in mind, if you're anywhere near Marshall tomorrow, you might want to spend a few minutes, stop by. The fountain ceremony is going to be taking place tomorrow, so all day tomorrow. If you can't make the ceremony live, it's a great opportunity for you if you're going to be on campus to keep that in mind. Thanks for tuning in. I'll be back with you tomorrow here at ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
WRBC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.